was going to ask.
And here we are. Look at this. 6 episodes. This is a dynasty now.
I think so.
We're officially a dynasty. Welcome to This Week in Sports History. I'm your host, Justin Wood, coming to you live with my co-host, Patrick Keene, rocking the hat. Love the mic. You went all out for episode 6. I like it.
Yeah. Are we on 6 or 5?
6, because the 5th episode was the Star Trek reference last episode.
Oh, right on. Yeah, this is good. Well, I just got back from the gym and I don't have the only hat that was sitting here. My hair doesn't look good.
Yeah.
I was like, I need something, and this hat was here. I'm going golfing with it on next Monday. So I'm breaking it in.
There you go.
And yeah, man, it's good to be here. Good to see you always. I was thinking you were one. It was good, man. It was good. I did some shows. I did a show in a Guardgate community, which is always a challenge. But it was fun. It was nearby. It was 12 minutes from my house. So
perfect.
Yeah. How about you? Did you perform at all?
Not on stage, but I went to a friend's birthday party Saturday night, and it was a country music live band. So I was in my element, and it was just funny listening to a country music band in Santa Monica. And I had one of the worst moments of my life that night, and I was going to tell you about it. I got a bad habit of every time I'm coming home in that Uber, I like to order Taco Bell. I like the Taco Bell to be waiting on me when I walk in the door. And it's never cheap. Like Ubering, like doing Uber Eats at like 1 o'clock in the morning is never a good idea, but I do it every time. And so I'm on my way home and I order a quesadilla. So I get home and I just enjoy this quesadilla. Pat Keene was so good, I ordered another one.
Oh, God. You got there, you consumed it, and you got on your phone and had another one.
Yeah, I got another one delivered.
It's beautiful, man.
Well over like $45 for two Taco Bell quesadillas.
Is it that expensive to have it delivered, like at that hour?
Yeah, it's awful. It's like...
And that's 2 a.m. I mean, were you patient enough? I would think it takes forever at that hour to get it.
No, I live right by a Taco Bell. So, but yeah, I woke up in the morning and it's already bad. Like, I make the joke, it's like bringing that girl home when you wake up in the morning after a good night. You're like, oh, damn it. And that's how I usually feel when I look at my nightstand. There's a Taco Bell bag. And this time there were 2. It's like, holy shit, that's right. I ordered 2 of them.
I wonder how many times maybe we've done that where the girl is like, okay, let's get you out of here. You know what I mean? Where it's the revert, where
multiple.
We're the coyote ugly for them.
Yeah. No, I never. Rightfully so. So.
Yeah. But no, that's good, man. That's good. The patience on that, the fortitude. So well done, Taco Bell. They put out a good product. What are you gonna do?
You know what you're getting when you get it. So
yeah,
like it's never a good idea, but it's an idea. And yeah, so
I was thinking you're one of the, like when I drove Uber in LA for those years, you were one of the few people I knew that I picked up randomly. I mean, I picked you up, but I knew you. Like that happened about 3 or 4 times.
Well, here was the funniest part of that is I let my ex keep her, but you picked me up when I went to get my cat.
That's right.
I was at the Humane Society rescuing a cat, and I tried to walk home, and she was just like going nuts. So I was like, man, I don't know if I'm even allowed to hit an Uber with this thing, but
that's hilarious.
And then it said Patrick's on his way. I was like, I know him.
That's amazing. You know who else I took once? John Huck's now wife.
Really?
Yeah. They were just dating at the time, and I picked her up. And we can, if Huck ever does a show, we can revisit this story.
Oh yeah, it's next week.
And perfect. And so I go to pick her. I go to pick a young lady up, and she's in the car, and they were in like Larchmont or Hancock Park, and I was like, oh, I like this neighborhood, and she's like, yeah. We were on the west side, but we had to move over here because my boyfriend, it's closer for shows. And I was like, oh, what does he do? And she's like, oh, he's a comic. And I said, oh, what's his name? And she said, oh, don't worry, he's not famous. You wouldn't know him. And I was like, try me, and of course it's one of my closest.
Yeah. Today, my boss actually had a meeting with Jamie Masada because he has some clients that they want to set up for like appearances and stuff. And he was even saying, he was like, should I drop your name when I go there? I was like, no, that would not do you any good. I actually did that Laugh Factory thing like in 2016, where you go do the 3 minutes and then come back the next week, and then they make the big announcement on the overhead on the God mic that I was passed and I was the newest regular at the Laugh Factory. And they're like, make sure to send us your avails every week. We need to know when you're available. I did it for probably about 4 months and never got one. So I was like, all right. This was when like DeLeo was huge and he was there all the time. So I was like, okay, I don't have any credits. So
yeah, no, that's dude. Yeah, that's how they operate. Yeah, I had that with multiple times, but
yeah.
But whatever.
Then there's another club that's always like, send me your avails, and I put them in. I've done this for like 9 months now, and I never get booked. I'm like, why do you guys even?
Yeah, don't even say the words. Like, we've done it long enough. We can take it. Like, hey, good set. We know what that means. Good set.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
You don't need to push the promise on us.
Yeah, but it was that. I don't know if you remember this. When I first moved back, the cat I rescue now, I did like a little benefit show for their rescue center. We were all up in that little room over in Santa Monica at the crow.
Oh, the crow, Thirsty Crow? No,
something crow. It's
not the Thirsty Crow. That's in Silver Lake.
But that's the club, and she's always and I love her to death. But I was like, I'm on like some just automatic thing. Like, if I really want to do the, like, I know I could just text her and be like, hey, can I do a show sometime? And she'd more than happily have me on. But it's just funny that they keep sending me that. So, but comedy, baby, that's what it is.
It's a long grind. It's a long grind, and even if you get early success, there's going to be a grind at some point because you're going to come off that hot streak.
Yeah. Another show, and we can talk about it. It relates to something we'll talk about later. As do you remember when I put together that show in Santa Monica during COVID? And
the outdoor. We did the outdoor a few times.
Yeah. Well, no, the ones we got to do. But do you remember, like, I did one like right when COVID started?
Oh yeah. You were on it.
I was like, hey, I got different mics. If you guys want to wear gloves, I had everything.
That's right.
I remember, and Matt Rife was actually on stage when the city came and shut it down.
I remember that.
And then, then he went to his table and he like stood up and like did a set like with no microphone. And then the lady that was driving, she's like, I know what you guys are doing. I'm going to give you guys a fine if you do that again. I was like, okay, we're done.
That's right. She was kind of a short, chubby woman from what I
remember. Yeah. And I was like, can you at least finish this set? She's like, no.
Can you at least finish this set? It's like Stallone and Rocky 2. Like, let me just finish the day out,
Yeah. So, but no, we had some fun shows like later in pandemic, like towards the middle and end, like when the city was kind of like not strict about it anymore. But yeah. I tried to go like 2 weeks later. I was like, I'm tired of sitting around. Like, I'll put a show together now.
Right. Yeah, that was fun. You had some good lineups. I remember Jamie Kennedy, your girl Ariel, always bringing it.
Yeah. You remember that was Jamie Kennedy's first show back.
I remember.
Because he was like freaked out. Like, he was like not letting people touch him or anything. And like,
yeah, he was masked up and behind the fence. I remember.
And now he's all anti-COVID. It's like, no. I was like, dude, I got pictures of you like freaking out because of COVID. So don't act like you weren't scared of it either.
Yeah, I mean, we should just come out all forward. And I'll come forward and be like, look, none of us knew what we were getting into.
Yeah.
None of us knew the fun. We maybe made some mistakes. Maybe we made some mistakes. We overreacted here, underreacted some other areas.
Yeah.
So let's be on the same page. It's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we will dive into more because this is that week that it all like started to happen. I noticed when I was getting the rundown. So
that's right. It was mid-March, right? Mid-March, 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a funny story about it, but we'll get to that later. But we're going to start off in the year 1945, Pat Keene.
Sweet.
As a symbol, this is wild. As a symbol of wartime baseball, Bert Shepard, a one-legged World War II veteran, begins a successful tryout as a pitcher for the Washington Senators.
Phenomenal. I mean, what kind of promotional fiasco is this? Like, they clearly knew he's not going to, make the team, I don't think.
Yeah. I did a little deep dive.
Yeah, but look, his name is Shepard. It's kind of funny. A one-legged guy is a shepherd. He's got to walk with a cane. You know what I mean? It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, this is like it's such a 2024 move too, because I could see like this being political. Like somebody like I could see like this guy like being diehard for one of the parties, and like this is that party's representative. They're like, this is our guy. This one-legged one-legged baseball player. But
yeah, let's get him up. Let's get him on the cameras, in the newspaper, on the radio. I wonder, like I'd rather have one. I mean, having one leg has got to be so hard to pitch. Like one arm, you can that power. You're losing half your power.
For sure. What was his name? Jim Abbott. Remember?
Yeah. He did one arm
thing. Right.
What's that?
Jim Abbott he's really good, actually.
He's really good. He was a pro. I don't know if he had a perfect game. I don't think he had a perfect game, but I think he had a no-hitter for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
And Olympic gold medal. They won the Olympics with him, I believe. He was on that like 88 team.
Yeah, Michigan Wolverines.
Yep. But here's a little fact about Mr. Shepard. He did get to play one game.
He did. Oh wow!
They put him in. He pitched for 5 innings of relief and recorded 2 strikeouts and a 1.69 ERA.
That's unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, so they went all out with this guy. They're like
unbelievable. I mean, I can't do it right now, but after this, I'm going to try to throw a ball one-legged. Like, there's just no power.
Yeah.
This is before, again, there were no black players in the MLB. No. You're still 2 years away from that, 47.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like you got to get it all in before you let black
anybody else want to try?
Yeah, we got to. They were really stretching it. That's how racist we were as a country, that we're letting one-legged white guys get a shot, but not black guys.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yes. Does anybody want to do this before we let them in? Get it out now. But no, I read that, and it's just like typical. I'm surprised that man. I mean, he passed away in 2008, but I'm surprised like his story hasn't been used more politically. Like,
Yeah. Jesus, he lived that much longer. He lived till 63 more years. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's got to be a story. I mean, come on, a one-legged guy, and he pitches 5 innings, gets 2 strikes, that he gets in a game at all. I mean, I wonder how long they kept him. He was probably there that season.
Yeah, POW also.
Yeah.
They went all out with this guy. Like, he was shot down in a helicopter and then was a POW and then went to play baseball.
He could probably play for the Washington Generals, the team that, why not?
Yeah. It should be their mascot for a game.
I mean, yeah, it's they lost every game to the Globetrotters, so why not get a one ring guy out there?
Yeah. Oh man.
So that's
All right.
1945. So that's the end of the war. That was the last year of the war. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So he, probably just looking for something to do after the war and
yeah.
decided I'm gonna
I'll
take
tell
up
you, man,
baseball.
those guys, like I would imagine, you know better than I, some of those war wounds are just badges of honor. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't think it
Oh
was
yeah.
the PTSD was probably there. I don't know, but like some of those guys came back. It's like, yeah, I lost a leg. I'm still standing here screaming, screw the free world.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was very crazy. Then my brother, of all people, was a diehard Jim Abbott fan growing up.
Oh wow, okay, yeah,
And I remember collecting baseball cards. Like we'd go to the baseball card shop, and the owner would put Jim Abbott cards off to the side for my brother when he came up there because he knew that and he'd sell them to him for like a nickel a piece because his cards weren't like
yeah,
anything of value. But my brother was just so intrigued by this one arm pitcher. Like even being a Michigan guy, like
yeah.
us being Ohio State, my brother's like, no, this guy rules. Like this guy only has one arm.
Dude, it really puts everything in perspective. Like it's almost like when you see a girls basketball team or a girls soccer team, and like they clean up their own trash. They're really good at attitude. I'm like, dude, we give way too much to boys football, basketball,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
way too little to other sports because it's like some of the snobs, even at the high school level, the crummy attitudes of some of the kids. But
yeah,
but a guy like Jim Abbott, a guy like John Stockton, Doug Flutie, like these guys that are battling the odds, that the spirit and the attitude is always so
yeah, yeah. So that's that story.
yeah. Right.
Let's move ahead a little bit to 1972.
Yes.
The NBA's Cincinnati Royals, plagued by poor home attendance, announced they are moving the franchise to Kansas City.
And this is the basketball Royals, not the baseball.
Yeah, the NBA Cincinnati Royals. And this is who the Sacramento Kings are now. They'd eventually go on to be the Kansas City. They're the Kansas City Royals for a little bit in Kansas City, and then I believe the name change came in Kansas to the Kansas City Kings.
Yeah,
and then the switch to Sacramento.
Yeah, I do remember the Kansas City Kings as a team as a kid. It is interesting why the Royal is named after the American Royal, which is a livestock show that travels around, I guess. That's right. I had to look that up.
Yeah.
I don't know if it travels or if it's always in Kansas City for the barbecue, but Cincinnati Royals. So there was a Cincinnati Royals and a Kansas City Royals, different sports. They said, let's put the basketball team where the baseball city is, because that was in '69. The Kansas City Royals became a baseball team.
Okay.
So 3 years later, they get the other Royals. That's just
yeah. And my thing is that it's plagued by poor home attendance. Like if I own a basketball team, even in the '70s, I'm not thinking, you know what city really needs basketball? Like Kansas City's not calling my name for a team to.
Right. Yeah, that is because Cincinnati seemed to be happening. It's on the river. I mean, I guess both these cities are on a river, but yeah, Cincinnati just rejected basketball's never been their thing, huh? You know better, I guess. So they were in Cincy from '57 till '72. They were there for 15.
Yeah, they were there a while.
Okay. And they never tried to replace it. Has there been a basketball team since? I don't think.
No, not NBA. They got Cleveland obviously had the team, but it was what was funny about this story too. A little side note is the Columbus Blue Jackets, the hockey team, they were getting ready to move because of poor home attendance. And then the Columbus Crew, the MLS team there, they were getting ready to move because of poor home attendance. So it's like Ohio's just, I mean, I've been to some Bengal games where you'd think that they just handing tickets out, like they're trying to get anybody in those stadiums. But it's such a college football state that like Ohio State football rules everything in Ohio. Almost to the point like I have friends in Cincinnati who hate Ohio State football.
Because it takes away from pro.
Yeah, not only pro but also the University of Cincinnati. Because every now and then they'll sneak up and have a good football program. But the thing is they're always little brother of the state. And there's years that they swear up and down that they can beat Ohio State. It's like, guys, relax. You can't beat Ohio State. Like, you're playing in the Big East. Like,
yeah,
this is.
Yeah, I remember Brian Kelly was at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And they were undefeated going into a bowl game.
Yeah.
And before the bowl game, he got hired to be Notre Dame's coach and left. And it's like, man, those seniors that worked hard, that have an undefeated team, they deserve a legitimate shot at going undefeated. They're probably not going to get the national title, but I was bummed about that. That's one of the ugly sides of the sports business part of sports.
Yeah, and then there was a couple. I mean, just recently, I think like 2 years ago, it was like a tongue in cheek. Everyone's like, "Okay, Cincinnati, yes, you're undefeated, but guys, this might be a little bit too big for you." And they swore up and down, like, "No. We're gonna shock the world when we get into the playoffs." And everyone that wasn't a UC fan was like, "Nah, you guys aren't. Like, you're just not."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, good on you for being good in your division and everything, but it's a different ball game.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, Cincinnati and what's the other one? What's Xavier? So they have two good, solid college basketball programs. So they did.
Yeah.
They still are.
Yeah, they call it the crosstown rival.
Yeah,
and it's always like the big game. And there are definitely years that Cincinnati is a better basketball team than Ohio State. Like they've always they're a basketball school.
Yeah.
But, I mean, God bless their fans. Like I'm a Bengals fan, so I know how it is to be ridiculous and think you're way better than you are. But
yeah. The Bengals. I remember for a long time it was the Bengals and the Reds were just such different franchises.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was like the Reds. Everything was good about the Reds. Obviously, it's been a while, but 70s and 80s are awesome. And then, but look, the Bengals have been to 3 Super Bowls. That's pretty great.
Yeah, and I don't really have any NFL stuff on here today, but yeah, it's been a fun week. Like I love free agents. I love when it first happens and you just see all the names come off the board and all these new teams. And the Bengals have been a little active, which is very rare for them, but we've had like 3 good signings. So, and then, I mean, we'll see what happens with T. Higgins. He said he wants to be traded, but there's a lot of times where people request trades and don't get traded. And then,
yeah, a lot of that stuff is, with social media and they can get out to the public so quick. And the coaches are just like, oh, dude, no, don't you get a quick call from the coach and it's like, no, dude, we got you. Like,
yeah,
we're going to take care of you. Just post.
Relax.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, let's get into something that I wish social media would have been around for in 1994 when American figure skater Tonya Harding pleads guilty to felony attack on former Olympic teammate Nancy Kerrigan.
Unbelievable. That was was it her boyfriend or did she hire someone to attack Kerrigan?
I think it was her boyfriend. I watched the movie not too long ago. I don't know if you saw the movie, but the movie was great.
Oh, I bet. And it was somebody they came and hit her legs with a stick or something?
Yeah.
Like a 2x4 or something. It was not.
Yeah. Something. Crowbar or something, I forget. Yeah. But enough to make her cry. Definitely. Yeah. We all saw the video.
Yeah, and then it didn't help that later when she skated, she went to the side and stuck her leg up and they were mislaced or her shoes were too tight or something. It was like, dude, you don't get two huge screw ups.
Yeah. Figure it out.
You get the one. Well, 94, I mean, Jesus, that was March, April, May, June. So a couple months later was the OJ thing. I mean, that really was the year of where sports became more reality showish with the OJ.
Yeah, for sure.
Harding. Yeah. Yeah. What a wild year. We started to see behind the curtain. So that was March. Jesus, dude. And was that resolved? She was from Portland. Or she was from Oregon. I don't know if it's Portland.
Yeah, I remember it was Oregon.
Yeah. But is Kerrigan a Californian or a New Yorker or something?
She has to be one of the two, I'd assume.
Yeah. And then she hosted SNL, maybe?
Yeah, Kerrigan? She did. And I think she mocked her video, didn't she?
Maybe. But I do remember after all that, then, oh my God, Kerrigan's at Disneyland. Do you remember this?
No.
She's at Disneyland. I don't know if she's like the master of ceremonies or whatever they call it when you're in the parade. Do they call it the master of ceremonies? I don't know. She's in the parade or she's being toured around, and they have her on a hot mic, and she's like, and she's just miserable, and she's like, "Oh, this is fun, yay!" Oh yeah, this is really great. So it's like, it just was not a good look. It did not come well, and so it's like, oh great, like the world loved you, we felt sorry for you, and now we see you, we catch you in this crummy moment.
Yeah, I didn't know that that's what it was, but I did remember that there was like a turning point with her. Like she was like America's sweetheart at one moment, and then everyone's like, I don't know, maybe Tonya Harding had a point. Like maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's fun to make fun of Disney, but like, and Walt and Mickey Mouse, but you can't make fun of like the people that are having fun. I mean, it wasn't a good look, and people just need to be aware of when their mic is hot.
It's still Disney, you monster. You can't just go making fun of Disney.
Oh yeah. I got to see that show though. It's probably it's like a Netflix or something, or
I believe so. I think it was actually up for a couple awards. Like
I remember,
it's silly, but like you can't turn it off. It's amazing.
Unfortunately, it's probably the best thing that happened to ice skating. I mean, no fault to Scott Hamilton or Dorothy Hamill or Dorothy whatever.
Yeah,
they're great, and I remember them in, I think they were in Juicy Fruit or Double Mint commercials or something. But but like this really launched ice skating to a new level.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think this is an even bigger story, but you said it. I think the OJ, messed this up for America. Like we didn't have enough time to really get behind this court case because OJ had to be a one-upper.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He took it and ran. Yeah.
It's like,
he's like, watch this. You thought that was great.
Yeah.
That's right. And then, but was Tonya allowed then she was allowed to compete after that? Or no?
I think so. I think she did. I think in the movie, she comes back. I mean, obviously it's awkward. Like everyone's like, got a lot of nerve.
Because there must have been a huge movement that like, no, she's got to be in jail. Like, not only kicked out of sports, but in jail. But not only does she not go to jail, she gets to compete. And I mean, here you are, like any athlete, that's scary to be attacked. But you don't expect it in ladies figure skating.
No. Top 5 sports you would not expect that in.
Yeah. It's like,
like, I'd even put women's golf. I'd expect it more to see in women's golf than
the club, something, But I mean, that's what happens. You put a lumberjack in figure skating for women, and she brings the lumberjack Oregon mentality to this. It was wild. Yeah,
but yes, definitely check the movie out. It's really good. All right, let's go 1 year ahead. 1995, a basketball player by the name of Michael Jordan announces he is ending his 17-month NBA retirement.
It is so crazy to think he was only gone literally just under a year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like kind of forever. I don't think anyone doubted he was coming back.
Yeah, that was when it started to become like, because you never really heard of players retiring and then coming back, and now like you see it all the time, like Tom Brady, like these great players that's their lives. But I remember even when he came back, like I remember the game against the Pacers. I remember VHS tape that I recorded it. Like I remember, I was so excited Michael Jordan was coming back, so I like record the game, but there wasn't a big build up to his comeback. Like I remember, it was just like they announced it like on Friday or Saturday that he's going to play Sunday, and it was just like I just remember being so excited. Like I couldn't believe that I remember he had the number 45 on. I mean, he looked a little off. I mean, he was playing baseball or whatever, but I mean, that was huge. Like I remember, like that's one of those sports moments that I remember exactly where I was. Like I remember going out in the driveway playing basketball right after that game was over. Just like all the kids were excited again. Jordan was back. Like, I mean, even as someone that's in the LeBron James court, you can't take away like Michael Jordan was like he was the guy coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, his first great, I remember his first great playoff moment, I think, was when he beat the Cavs on that last. Craig Elo could not have had better.
Yeah.
Craig Elo was awesome, and he was a good scorer, and he was all over Jordan, but Jordan was that good,
Yeah, and it was just like you just feel bad for Craig Elo. Like him and Mark Price were amazing. It was a fun backcourt. It was like these two little white dudes that could just shoot the three. And no one ever talks about how good of a shooter Craig Elo is, like foul shots, 3-point, everything. It's just like, oh, Craig Elo, yeah, I know. Yeah, the one Michael Jordan shot over, like it just sucks that like you've worked your ass off for your entire life at this craft that you become great at, but now like all that's left is, oh yeah, you were the guy that Michael Jordan shot over.
Yeah. That Jordan was able to come back. Did he stick with 45 or did he go back to 23 eventually?
He went back to 23.
Okay. But to think that you can take the time off and still come back and still dominate that sport, like,
yeah,
you were not playing competitively for a year and a half, but he knew how to get his body back to that level.
And he came back in three-peat again. He came back and took that team. Dude. Like,
who does that? Like, I remember he came back. They went the year because he only missed one playoffs because he came back the second year for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or for what led to that. And the Bulls still went to Game 7 against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Without Jordan, that was pretty impressive.
That was I believe the playoff series where Scottie Pippen was wearing the Jordan shoes and he pointed at the logo and then he went like this to the camera, like saying, hey, all right, time to come back. Like,
oh, interesting. Oh, I never knew that. That's great.
Yeah. And so that's why, I don't know, speaking of Jordan, have you seen this new tour that Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen, and Luke Longley are doing now?
No, they're doing a tour?
Yeah, it's called Our Truth. Like, it's, I guess they were all like pretty upset about how they got portrayed and everything else, like some of the stuff Jordan said in the documentary.
Oh, I don't remember him saying anything negative about those guys.
Yeah, I don't know, but now these three guys are like real bitter and going on their own tour together.
And so are you going to go see that tour? I mean,
yeah, they've already had it started in Australia already, where they love Luke Longley.
Oh,
so all three of them, it's like almost like a anti-Jordan, like talking about just like how bad of a teammate and everything he is. But the funniest part is there's a picture from it that I saw, and Horace Grant's wearing Jordans, like he's wearing Jordan shoes, like.
Dude. Yeah, that's wild. Ugly things happen, to get to that level of success, and you gotta make moves, and you gotta be shitty to each other sometimes. I don't know, man. I don't know. Who knows? But I wouldn't think they'd want to have a full tour after that. But they didn't make it as far when he came back because they lost to Orlando, right? Penny Hardaway and Shaq.
Yeah. But I think that was, in Jordan's defense, I think that was the year that he missed like 50-some games with an injury, and then he came back and he tried to play in the first round, and it
was bad.
Yeah. And I mean, Penny Hardaway is one of those stories. If he could have just stayed healthy, he would probably be. We'd probably still be talking about him. I mean,
and he was loaded. And I don't think if he stays healthy, I don't know that Shaq is in a hurry to leave. Like, but Shaq was, when he came to LA, it was like, well, God. And then I remember, so Jordan won 3 more in a row. 2 of them were against the Jazz.
Who was the other one? It was,
and then he beat Seattle. He beat Sean Kemp and Gary Payton.
Yeah.
Their his first full season back.
Yeah.
And then they beat the Jazz twice, which was interesting. Those teams, man. And then they got Rodman on those teams, and it was just they had no weaknesses.
And then, I mean, you don't really talk about it much, but he goes to Washington and plays with the Wizards for like however many years he did there. And he still had his moments in those, even with those teams, he was still 20 points, like.
Oh, was he still Magic? Was he still Magic? Was he still doing it? I didn't really watch when he was with the Wizards. I know he took him to the playoffs one year.
Yeah, and that's what it was. It was probably like 16 to 22 a game. Like he was in that like little sweet spot area where he turned into a role player, but because of who he was, he couldn't just be a role player. And his very last All-Star game that he was in, he wasn't voted a starter, and Vince Carter was. And I just watched this on one of the sports documentaries I was watching, and Vince Carter was like, "This is Mike's last All-Star game. I'm not." And he refused because Mike was like, "No, you got voted. Like this is what they want," and he was like, "I'm not going to play." He was like, "You're going to start the game, and I'll come off the bench." So
wow.
I thought that was pretty cool that Vince Carter did
Very
that.
cool. Yeah, both North Carolina guys, right? Both Tar Heels. Yeah.
And then them and Jerry Stackhouse, those were like the 3, because I remember when Stackhouse first came out, the comparisons, and I was like, what are you talking about? Jordan? Like Michael Jordan? But I mean, in college all 3 were great at North Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. God, who else was North Carolina? Was it Rasheed Wallace?
Rasheed Wallace, yeah.
And then where did Antoine Jameson, was he Kentucky or was he North Carolina? He was North Carolina.
I think he was North Carolina. And then James Worthy,
Jesus, man. Yeah. Loaded.
Eric Montross.
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
Let's get one for us in here.
Yeah. So, so Jordan comes back. That's in 95. I was in Japan, and I was an exchange student at the time, and I was teaching part-time once a week at a high school near me. And one of the girls I was teaching was a huge Jordan fan, and she cried when he retired.
Yeah.
She cried. She was inconsolable, and I was like, wow, you guys followed this closely. But I'm sure she was thrilled when he came back to get 3 straight titles. Jesus. And that's when Barkley was at Houston.
Yeah, they were making teams to try and stop these guys.
Yeah. Because remember, he was at Houston. He was at Phoenix first, and that team was like had all-stars from other teams. And when they didn't beat him in 93, I mean, they had Ainge, they had Don Chambers from Seattle.
Yeah, Dan Marley.
All these guys, Marley, Jesus.
Kevin Johnson, like they were stacked.
Yeah, they were really good. And to beat that team was wild. And then, top of the world, retires, comes back, wins 3 more. Did he do Washington because he knew he was going to be partial owner in the league at some point? Yeah. Yeah,
he had ownership at the time. So he had to like sell his shares so he could play for him. There was something weird. I might be totally wrong on this, but there's something where he sold his shares to come back and play.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sure one of our 23 listeners will let me know.
Yeah. We'll hear from them.
Yeah.
You never hear when you're right. You never hear about it, right? It's probably like being a parent.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. All right, I got one more story, and then we're going to our misery.
Okay.
And this is what I was telling you about earlier. In 2020, this week, the NBA suspends the 2019-2020 season until further notice after Utah Jazz center Rudy Gobert tests positive for COVID-19. Like, do you remember him in general when he was like kind of joking around about it and like started like touching like all the microphones and everything at the press conference?
I do remember that. I do. I can't imagine that was well received.
Yeah. And then 1 week later, he actually has it, and he gave his teammate Donovan Mitchell, because he was hugging Donovan, and Donovan was kind of like, "Hey man, get off!" Like,
yeah,
I'm not joking around like this yet. Like this shit's still a little bit scary.
Yeah, we didn't know. We didn't know yet, right?
Yeah. So they said Rudy had it, and then like the next day, Donovan gets it, and he like went on Twitter and like blasted Rudy Gobert for not taking it seriously. He's like, I can't believe I'm in this situation now. And it's like, geez.
Jesus. I mean, who would think the NBA would hinge on Rudy Gobert, you know?
Yeah. But
I remember.
Go ahead.
Well, I remember Durant had it. I remember Durant got it. I remember Tom Hanks was in Australia. He got it. I'm trying to think of some celebrities, some big time.
Yeah. I remember when Tom Hanks got it, because that was almost when America was like, okay, shut it down. Like,
Yeah.
Forrest has it. We gotta watch out. And Kevin Hart, actually, he had the bit in his special he released that year where he ended up getting it, and he was getting ready to use his publicist to announce that, hey, I have it. But it was the same day that Tom Hanks said he had it. And Kevin Hart's like, I'm not going to try and steal that guy's thunder.
Oh, yeah. What are you doing?
But yeah, I mean, that was, I mean, even for sports in general, you remember there's the NBA bubble, the
NBA bubble, yes.
NFL had no crowds, and then they started to let like 1,000 in, and it was all crazy to watch.
That was wild. I went to a football game that fall in Texas, of course, Austin.
Yeah.
At the University of Texas. Who'd they play? I forget. I think they played Toledo, maybe. But or West Virginia. They played West Virginia. And it was so bizarre to see like every other row. You had to be spaced out. It was like, what is this? This is so strange.
Yeah. I went to a college graduation that year too. And it was like that. Like, you could only sit with the people that you rode in the car with. They had like designate. You could only be no more groups than it was 4 was the max. So there's 4 of us, and we were all in our little section. Like, they had it marked off on each part of the bleachers, like where people could sit, where you can't sit, and everything.
Yeah, and Zoom took off. I mean, Zoom overnight just became this extravagant thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had those things. Who monitors that? Who, like, I remember a couple comedy clubs, it was every other table.
Yeah.
You know, but who monitors? I mean, do the cops monitor that? Like,
I think the city, whoever is in the city, yeah. Because that's another crazy story. Me and you met up in Phoenix. Like, you were with Steve Byrne at Copper Blues, and I was with Andy Hendrickson at Stir Crazy. And then I came over and met up with you guys, and it was like the last weekend that they were going to be open, because all the clubs and bars were getting ready to close down again. And I remember I came over, and Steve let me do 5 minutes on that show, and then we like went and listened to the band in the other part of the bar at Copper Blues. Like,
it was very fun. I remember that was a fun night. So that was fall. That was summer of COVID of the first year. I remember because it was hot. It was really hot.
Yeah. But I just remember, like, even that was the first time I saw like a comedy club that I think we sold 35 tickets, and that was sold out. Like, they weren't allowing more than, no, I think it was 65. I think there was no more than 65 people allowed in there. And I remember Yeah, it was one of those. I came back the next day. Andy came to pick me up to go to the airport, and he's like, "Did you have fun?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, you mind sitting in the back?" I
Oh,
was
did
like,
you really? Did you really?
"Yeah." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'll sit in the." I was like, "I'll put my mask on." He
Oh,
was
that's
like,
right. 'Cause you were out going big. That's funny.
"Yeah." So he's like, "I wish I could have came with you." He's like, "I like had orders from my wife when I came out here. Like, he was going to drive too. He wasn't even going to fly, and then the last second, he ended up flying.
Ooh.
But yeah, so he like made a deal with his wife, like he won't risk it. And here I am, like out hugging everyone, like, oh, maybe not hugging everyone, but
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely
Yeah,
not
very,
as, yeah.
very good. Yeah,
So
flying was a trip, right? Flying, you had to have the mask on the whole time, like the
yeah,
shields. Those were
yeah.
crazy.
And you had to have like I had one of those like pullover masks, and they were like, nope, you can't have it. It needs to have some certain type of thing on. And I'm just like, this is crazy. And
Yeah,
now it's like it was like just a different world for
it
that
was
one
so
year.
different for that, what, 1 or 2 years? Like, year and a
Yeah,
half? Yeah.
yeah. Especially where we were, like being out in
Yeah,
California,
LA
like it was.
hung on. They clung on to it pretty long.
And I mean, there's still some people where, like me being on the dating apps now,
Yeah.
like there are like girls' profiles where they're like, it says it real big, like vaccinated, and they're like, if you're not vaccinated, keep swiping. Like COVID is real, and I'm like, look, no one's saying it's not real, but we're like, hey, you know,
Yeah. No, it's, so I can't believe that. I don't think you'd find that in Orange County, at least South Orange County, where I am
no
right now.
way.
Yeah.
No. Well, you know what? I did go to Orange County uh, during all this. Like, I went down to the Dude's Brewery in Huntington Beach. Is that Orange County?
Yep, yp, North
Oh,
Orange County, yep.
yeah. Like,
Oh, yeah, they didn't care. Orange County was a whole different world. It's crazy.
I remember on CNN or one of the news stories, they had a story about a bar down there that kept getting in trouble because the owner would make you leave your mask at the door and you weren't
Yeah,
allowed to wear a mask in the
yeah, that's definitely Huntington Beach.
yeah, so you guys are wild down there.
Yeah, that's so funny. I had that in, San Marcos, wherever is that Cal State or UC San Marcos? I don't know if it's a UC or a Cal State, but I was there one night and, they were like, "No masks, man, no ma," and I was like, "Fine with me, dude, fine with
Yeah,
me. I'm here to have a good time."
yeah, that's nuts. So, all right, here's the last story. Our this week in sports misery, and there's something about '94 because we're going to go back to '94 again. It is announced this week that there is no smoking in Cleveland Indians' new ballpark.
Wow. Were they the first? Was that
They must have been if this is making the if this made that website,
Yeah.
but it seems like it was long. I don't know. Like I was
I think
surprised.
that's
Like
about the time you stopped seeing cigarettes, like, in bars, in comedy clubs, in stadiums. I think that's it. It's weird that Cleveland, not exactly a health bastion,
yeah,
first to
yeah.
do that.
That was my thing. I was like, Cleveland, you're gonna be the one to
Right.
be the trailblazer. This is
Yeah. It's definitely not Toledo.
no, but yeah, I can't. This was before I was going to like live sporting events or anything. So like, I don't remember like actual like were people just like smoking at their seats? They could just fire one up, or they're always like smoking sections.
No, no, and I remember in stadiums you could just smoke away. You'd smoke away, college, pro. I mean, look, I remember in grade school, our football coach in grade school smoked on the sideline, Coach Bean.
Yeah.
Smoked at practice, on the sideline. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't. And then in college, our coach smoked on the sideline. It just, you'd never see that now. John Madden used to coach, or he used to smoke on the sideline in the 70s, and they'd show it. It
Yeah.
wasn't a big deal. Was it a
If you
big
could bring smoking back to one, like what would be the one sport that would bring smoking back?
I
Like,
would like baseball because those managers, Sparky Anderson, Jim Leland,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
smoking in the dugout. I love that shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, they won't smoke, but do they still do the big chews?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I remember that was always a thing back then too. Like they stopped smoking, so then they turned to chewing tobacco.
Right. Let's just put it in the mouth where it could get into the system easier, quicker, and all that. And I think vaping, I don't know if vaping is, it's electronic. I can't imagine that's better for you than tobacco and
No,
paper.
and no, I'm noticing now like vapors don't care. They're doing it indoors. I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
My thing is, I'm at a bar. Like I don't care if you're like. It's not
right.
like I'm being healthy myself. I'm sitting at a bar drinking alcohol. Like
Yeah.
I don't. And that's why I remember in like I don't know if you still can, but like 2009 or 2010, I did a show in Nashville, and like the whole bar was just everyone was smoking inside. So
Oh, were they? And how recently?
this is like 2010.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
remember the Cincinnati Go Bananas in Cincinnati. I remember as late as '05. I remember
yeah,
'05 there being cigarette smoke at a
yeah,
comedy club. I don't think there's any comedy club you can smoke inside now, but I'm sure there's plenty of bars you can still smoke inside.
yeah. What about Vegas? Can you?
Oh, I'm sure you can. In those casinos for sure, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course. Um, but bar restaurants, I don't know. I mean, Vegas is it's gritty, but it's also so megaplex now.
yeah,
You can go and not drink and not stay out late. I mean, there's stuff for kids. There's just so much to do now and there's so much money to be made, but that maybe there are those guidelines, those health guidelines for anti-cigarettes. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know.
But it's at the point, when we were kids, you smelled cigarette. Now I smell marijuana cigarettes more than I do cigarettes.
Oh,
Cigarettes.
yeah. I remember like growing up in Ohio. Like if you smelled weed, it was like a big deal. You're like, holy, oh my god, I smell
Yeah.
weed. And now, like out here, it's like, I mean, granted, they're doing vapes and edibles and everything else, but like when I moved out here in 2011, I just remember I was just smelling weed all the time. I was like, I can't believe you guys just smoke it like this out here. Like this is completely fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But
You wonder about technology. Like, are things better? Or are they worse? Like, are they better? Or are they worse? I mean, we're eating more sugar than ever before. We look so obese compared to what we and our families looked like in the 80s and the
yeah,
70s. Yeah. And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. I remember I was like when the vapes first came out, I was talking to my buddy Dustin. I was like, Dustin, like those e-cigarettes are bad for you. And he's like, smoking's bad for me. He's like, it's not. Like he's like, what are you talking about? Like, don't like. So
yeah. Yeah. Being
yeah,
alive is bad for you.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe some of these outdoor events. I don't know. You heard about the Chiefs? Like people that went to that playoff game last year are
Yeah.
like there's like people getting amputated right now from frostbite that they never recovered from.
From what?
Like from that Kansas City Chiefs Buffalo Bills playoff game last year, I think it
Because it was
is.
so cold.
Yeah,
Or,
that one where they had to like push it back a day to.
oh, the snow. They had to get rid of the snow.
So there's been people that have been like getting amputated, like people
Like
losing
body parts
fingers.
are getting,
Yeah, they got frostbite at that event,
oh
and
my God.
yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
I don't know. Maybe bring smoking back to outdoor events.
Yeah. Keep it warm a little bit. I mean, I would think anybody that's Buffalo in the winter, anybody willing to go stand in that weather probably wasn't healthy to begin with.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
there's some contributing factors, but still, that's very insane.
absolutely. So, well, Pat, we traveled back this week. We made it through 6 episodes. We did it.
That's
So
great. That's great.
this is coming out. I'm actually putting this out in the morning.
Okay.
You got anything going on this weekend? St. Patty's weekend?
I will be I'm going to Arizona. I'll be at Stir Crazy with Josh Sneed. He's a Cincinnati kid.
He is, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we got shows Friday, Saturday, and then St. Patrick's Day night. I'll be back at the LA Improv on Sunday night.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Doing Bill Devlin's St. Patrick's Day show.
Awesome. I'm actually just working at my buddy's bar all weekend. I'm gonna make some money and get the drink for free. So has my name written all over it. So,
Beautiful.
well, all right. We thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. And we have a special. We'll have 4 people on here next week. So we're gonna see if this is gonna be a good idea or probably just a shit show. But tune in next week and find out. Thanks for tuning in.